Coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question. If you're joining by Zoom, use the raise hand function for questions. We'll address questions in the room first and get to Zoom if the time allows. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We'll begin today with a short post-game opening statement from Coach. Then we'll open it up to questions for the student athletes before we return to questions for Coach. Take it away, Coach.
I thought our team just was amazing today. I thought we played our butts off on the defensive end and established ourselves from a defensive perspective really early. We missed some shots early that we typically make, but it could have been, the game, the atmosphere. I just think we needed to settle. And then you saw a glimpse of what we're capable of doing in the fourth quarter of the game. So it was just an unbelievable performance by us. These two guys to my left are two of the best people and players in the country, and we're fortunate to have them on our team.
Thank you very much, Coach. We'll open it up to questions for our student athletes now. If you do have a question, please raise your hand so we can get a microphone to you. And we can begin in the front row on the right here. Just give us a brief moment.
Aaron McMahon, Ann Arbor News. I'm live. Just for both the players, could you just speak to the moment when making another Sweet 16, doing this at home, and winning it in front of your home crowd?
Yeah, we committed to Michigan to do this, and we committed to Coach Rico to do it for her and for each other. And so it's just, you could see how much fun we were having, and that's what it's about, and that's how close our team is. And so it's just so fun to kind of soak it in, especially on our home court. Like, we're accomplishing the goals we set out to, and we're not done yet. So we're going to keep having fun with it and keep preparing.
Yeah, I think it really set in when we got subbed out at the end there and just got to sit and watch, how loud the crowd was, how excited our teammates were, and just soak all in what we've built, but also what Coach Rico has been building throughout her years here. And, I kind of took her at the end and just said, as much as she doesn't like to take a lot of the credit, but, we committed to her at the end of the day. We committed to Michigan, and she's a huge part of that. And so we're just really excited to be able to continue what Coach has already created as a legacy here.
For our next question, we'll go to the second row on the right.
Alejandro Zuniga, 24/7. Olivia, to go from 0 points in the first half and some foul trouble to 27 by the end of the game, what clicked for you in the second half?
I think just having confidence in myself as well as my teammates having confidence in me and still getting the ball to me. But I think it was a collective effort of just people carrying the load in the first half, and that just shows how much depth we have on our team. And I'm proud of Silas. She hit her 1,000th point. So just like everything that our team did, I think I happened to make shots in the second half, but yeah.
Our next question comes from the left in the second row.
Charlotte Gibson, ESPN. Olivia, you actually just teed me up perfectly because I was going to ask Sila, how does it feel to reach 1,000 points in 2 seasons?
It's exciting, but it's nothing compared to that feeling of just walking into Crisler and seeing the student section already full, seeing the crowds cheering, when Liv was making those big shots or when Brooke was making big steals. That was the feeling that I was more excited about, and just being able to celebrate with the team at the end, knowing that we're back in the Sweet 16, it's something really special, and that's kind of what I'm going to walk away feeling the most proud of in this day.
Front row on the left.
Larry Leach from Associated Press. For each of you, can you reflect on how much your pressure bothered them and how much of a difference that was in the game?
Yeah, we bother a lot of teams with our pressure, and that starts with Brooke Daniels. She was all defensive team for Big Ten, and she's guarding the best player, whether it's the point guard, whether it's a shooting guard, no matter how tall they are, she's constantly picking them up full court for however minutes, 20, 40 minutes she's playing. She knows that's her role, and she's great at it. And then it comes from Liv, too, being able to run into the trap, Taylor Del Foss. But it was definitely, like Liv said, a group effort, and everyone just trusting each other to scramble to come back, and we were really disruptive today with that.
Additional questions for our student athletes in the room? We'll go back to the right side here in the second row.
Alejandro Zuniga, 24/7. To see Alyssa Crockett hit that three-pointer, can you reflect on what she provides to the team and your reaction to that shot?
Yeah, we talked about it in the locker room after, but she was part of the quad squad who stayed a couple years ago and believed in Michigan, believed in Coach in this program. And so she's been such a good leader for us coming in last year. She just leads us. And in whatever minutes the game gives to her, she's always on the sideline, always in practice, like hyping us up and she's just such a good leader for us. And so to see her be able to play her last home game in Crisler and to have that, I think it sealed the deal at the end.
We'll go back to the left side for our next question in the front row.
Mila, again, did her thing. What can you say that you haven't about how good she is and maybe how underappreciated she is.
Yeah, Mila Holloway is playing really high-level basketball right now, and even on a lot of the lists that went up for top point guard of the year, Mila needs to be on all of those lists. And you see, she's playing with great scorers, but we're great scorers because she puts us in a situation to score, in a position to score. She's guarding 94 feet just like everybody else, and she's grown a lot into that role from a leadership standpoint as well. She's not the most vocal when she first came here, but now she's calling the plays. She's bringing us all into huddles, and that just brings a lot of calm to us on the floor, and you don't see that from a sophomore point guard, power 5 or power 4.
All right, we'll stay on the left side in the second row.
Hi, Villy from the Michigan Daily. Playing without Macy today obviously is hard emotionally, but also she's been such a reliable plug-in from off the bench. Can you touch on how it was kind of filling in that position?
Yeah, obviously it was hard for all of us, just how good of a teammate she is and how good a minutes she's been playing. But we did it for her, and that's what we talked about at the beginning of the game, of everyone rallying around each other, and we wanted to give her a good game today.
Yeah, Macy's the type of person where you feel her presence. Whenever you're in the room, you know that Macy's there, and that's because of the positive energy she exudes. So that's definitely something we're going to miss on the court, but 100% sure she's going to continue to be that great Macy Brown person that she is on the bench for us.
Got time for a few more for Olivia and Sila. If you have any additional questions for the student athletes, we'll go back to the front row on the left.
Sila, what were they doing to you to hold you to 2 points in the first quarter?
They were face guarding me really well at the beginning, but I wasn't mad about it because my other teammates got great shots off of it. It opens a lot. If I can be a great screener, which I've been working on, to open up stuff for them. Mila got some great shots. Brooke Daniels had a great first quarter, so it just makes stuff for the rest of the team easier. And again, whatever we can do at any point. Liv, player that doesn't go away, she's going to have a quieter first half, but yeah, she's going to score 30 in the second half, and that's not something to be surprised about by any means.
Anything additional? Okay, thank you both. Thank you, Olivia and Sila. We appreciate it. And as they make their way out, we can now open up questions for Coach. If you have questions for Coach, just raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you, and we can begin at any time. Go to the second row on the left.
Hi, Coach. Charlotte Gibson, ESPN. I'm curious, with Zoe Brooks out for NC State, how did your team have to pivot with her absence?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great player, and you're not sure. Like, we didn't know until a little bit before the game that she wasn't going to be playing, so we obviously prepped for her. And she makes a difference on their team. She's, like I said, a tremendous player. They're a tremendous team. But one less player, and the same thing happened with us. Macy Brown didn't play for us. It just affects your depth, for sure. And then they got in a little bit of foul trouble, which really affected their depth, which played to our benefit. So I just think when you lose, a key player like her with a ton of experience, other people need to step up and have a really great game. And I thought we were able to affect them defensively. Our defense really was able to affect them. And without her and 16 points, that really hurt them a little bit.
Coach, for our next question, we'll go to the second row on your right.
Alejandro Zuniga, 24/7. You guys forced 22 turnovers. You attempted 27 more shots than NC State did tonight. Were you surprised in any way by how effective the pressing and the trapping was?
No, I mean, that's our goal every day, is to try to force 20 turnovers. I thought in the first quarter we sat back. We were nervous to do it. And then Liv got in foul trouble and just, going on everyone else's questions. What happened to Sila? Why didn't she score? Well, Liv was out of the game, and they were face guarded. They were in a box and one against Sila. So, I mean, that affects, and you have to make adjustments when people are in foul trouble. So their player was in foul trouble. One of our top players was in foul trouble as well. So that kind of affected that. But once we decided to press, which really was the second quarter, we said we are going to get up regardless of what the situation is. I think the tide started to turn a little bit. They made a run at the end of the second quarter, but we got up 10 in the middle of the second quarter because of our defensive pressure. And obviously we always talk about Brooke a lot, but Tayala's really buying into that. Liv is a huge piece with that. Kendall does a great job with that. I mean, Sila as well. So you can go down the whole line, but that is our goal, and that's the strength of our team if we can force turnovers. The flip side was tonight we had 22 assists and only 6 turnovers. Like, that is incredible. So when you force 20 turnovers and only have 6 turnovers, that puts you in a pretty good position to win the game.
Additional questions for Coach? If you have one, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. We'll stay on the right side here in the second row.
Coach, Sean Windsor, Detroit Free Press. You mentioned Brooke and her value, obviously, in the press, but can you just speak to what else she brings, man. You watch the team gather in a dead ball situation in a huddle. She's the one generally talking.
She's
The offensive rebounding at 5'7", right?
Yeah.
Just her knack for that, all that.
She is a senior on our team. She's the most experienced in terms of minutes of anyone on our team. She's played probably more minutes than anyone else, I'm sure. So I think, and she has a little bit of a grit and a toughness and a fire, and every team needs that. So she is that for us. She's relentless. I mean, she's an amazing offensive rebounder. She led our team again in offensive rebounds tonight. She finished with 6 total, but she had 4 offensive rebounds. She also had 5 assists tonight, which was really important as well. So I think she does a lot of different things for our team. But her personality and her drive and her toughness and her grit, like that sets the tone for the rest of the crew. And I think that comes to her being a senior and her being the most experienced person out there.
We'll stay on your right in that second row.
So you got 24/7 again. You've talked at length about building this program and standing on the shoulders of the players, the Nas who was here and all that. With that in mind, does it feel different to make the Sweet 16 this time, given you were a 2 seed and hosting and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it always feels amazing. I think, if you go through the history of college basketball, men's, women's, anyone, this isn't something that is easy to do. There are a lot of tremendous coaches. There are a lot of great coaches that I followed throughout my entire career that don't make Sweet 16s. So there's never a time where I don't really appreciate that and value that. The first time we did it, was the bubble. That's an experience I will never forget. But this group is different, and this group has attracted, Nas was back in the building, Leah Brown was back in the building, our alums and our fans and our former players, they are all connected to this group. They talk about it every single opportunity I have a chance to speak with them about how proud they are and how hard they play and how they're so unselfish. You have so many talented kids, and they share the basketball, and they play for each other. And I think when people watch us, they can really see that. So, we get to hang another banner. I always talk about, coming to Michigan and there weren't any banners. And Coach Mel, who started with me back in the day, used to always say, we came here, there's a big hole right there. We are going to hang banners in that spot. And this will be another banner. So there's not, every team has a special place, and every team helped lay the foundation to where we are today. That sophomore core group of kids came because of what Naz Hillman did. Naz Hillman came because of what Caitlin Flaherty did and Hallie Thome did. So they wanted to be a part of that. They want to leave their own legacy, but they wanted to be a part of what the Michigan faithful, what the Michigan players did before them as well.
Coach, we'll go back to your left in the first row.
Larry Lay, JP, with Olivia, it seemed like they were roughing her up a bit early and led to her foul trouble as well. Just can you reflect on how she bounced back and how confident you were that she was going to have a second half like that?
For anyone watching, is she an All-American or what? Is she arguably not the one of the best players in the country? She is phenomenal. And tonight was a tough matchup for her because they played 2 bigs. So Olive is a guard for us. She usually matches up with a guard. Today she's matching up with Camille Pierre, who's a double-double machine. The girl has 20 double-doubles. So they went right at Liv, and that was their game plan from the start, is to try to get Liv in foul trouble and to try to attack her. And she picked up her second foul. Now, for a coach, when Liv does that really early, I'm like, ugh, because it messes with her confidence a little bit, and it hurts our team without her being out there. But our team was holding strong, so we kind of made the decision to really not put her in for an extended period of time after that. But for her to come back in the second half and do what she did was just phenomenal, absolutely incredible. For her to have that confidence, for her teammates to find her early, for them to give her touches, and for her to make plays and put on the performance that she did, I thought was pretty ridiculous. It's got to be one of the best halves of basketball of any player this season.
We'll take our final question for Coach in the same front row on the left.
Ryan Zoot, MLive, Ann Arbor News. Obviously, a lot of success going on at Michigan across multiple sports right now. I guess, how would you describe the buzz at the university right now, and does that fuel you guys personally at all with the men's team and the hockey team also raising banners?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly, that's why you come to Michigan, and I say it, 14 years in, but I left everything I ever knew, my family and my mother yelling at me because I was taking her 3 kids on the East Coast for an opportunity to be surrounded by excellence every day. And that was Carol Hutchins. That was Bev Plocky. That was Ronnie Bernstein. That was every one of these women Hall of Fame coaches that are at this tremendous university. They've had a couple good men's coaches as well. But for me to have that opportunity was absolutely incredible. So when you get to work in this building, and I started with Coach Beeline, and I get to watch his practices, and I get to, pick his brain, and I get to be surrounded by excellence, and then what our men are doing, and what Dusty is doing every single day. I mean, I looked up and I saw Yaxel in the front row with our whole men's team and men's staff at our game. We share a building. We spend a lot of time together. Dusty used to kid me at the beginning of the year that he wished that his best players played as hard as Olivia and Sila. He used to say, man, if I can just get my 2 best players to play as hard as your 2 best players are, we have a chance to be really good. So I think they're doing okay. I think he's gotten them to play that hard. But it's really special for me, too. My boy, my son, is a graduate assistant for them. So he's a part of that, which has been special. My daughter is on, did the lacrosse team win? Does anybody know? She plays Michigan women's lacrosse here. They played at Penn State today, which has absolutely been, I mean, for a mom, like what greater,
They won 11-6.
Yes, they won 11-6. Yes, they won 11-6. Of course, the game times couldn't, work out. But I just think Michigan is really a special place. It's a place that prides itself on excellence. And, getting to work with the group of people that I do every day and the support from the group of coaches. During COVID, we formed a women's group because we couldn't go outside. So, we couldn't stay inside. So all the women's coaches would meet outside and we'd hang out and we'd chit-chat. And that's kind of stayed with us throughout the last few years. So I'm grateful every day to be at this amazing university.
Thank you very much for your time, Coach. We appreciate it. Congratulations.
Woo! Let's go!
That concludes today's press conferences for Michigan. Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. Thank you for joining us. NC State is waiting outside and will be entering momentarily. As we're set to begin again, another reminder to courtesy to your fellow media members and coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Provide your names and media affiliation each time you ask a question. If you're joining by Zoom, use the raise hand function. We'll address questions in the room first and get to Zoom as time allows. Recording is prohibited by cameras or cell phones. We'll begin with an opening statement from Coach, then take questions for the student athletes, then return to questions for Coach. We're ready for you anytime you want to begin, Coach.
Yeah, just, tip your hat to Michigan. They played great. Well coached, totally bought in, locked in, and they played extremely well. Really, bottom line, we got outscored 35-5 points off turnovers. So got beat by 29, got outscored by 30 off turnovers. So that pretty much sums it up.
All right, we'll open it up to questions for the student athletes. If you have questions for our student athletes, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. We'll begin in the front row on the left.
Larry Lage from Associated Press. For both of you, Swords and Olsen got off to slow starts with your defense, and obviously they turned it up. What did you do well early against them, and what changed?
I'd say early in the game we kept them from shooting threes. That's how they got most of their points in the second half. I feel like we let up a little bit. We should have kept going. They only had 28 points at halftime. Olsen had 0 at halftime. So we could have just kept buying in. We just really just let them shoot threes all game.
For our next question, we'll go to the right side of the room in the second row.
Alejandro, you got 24/7 Sports. For either of you to be without your starting point guard in the way you guys were tonight, how much more difficult did it make dealing with Michigan's pressing and trapping?
Yeah, Zoe's definitely a big part of our team. She's our team leader. She's our leading point guard, starting point guard. That was definitely a big adjustment that we had to make and try and work around. And as you guys saw, like there was times where it wasn't too pretty, and that just shows like her leadership, her great ball handling, and all of that on her end. But you know, we're also young, and you know, it's fixable things, and it showed us a lot of things that we could work on, and you know, in the off season and stuff.
If you have additional questions, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. And our next question comes from the second row on the left.
Nate Schreck with the Michigan Daily. This game was defined by a game of runs for a lot of it. Did you guys feel like there was a lot of momentum shifting back and forth as the game went on?
First half definitely was. Third quarter, of course, we kind of let up, like I said. In the second half, we didn't really play our game. I think first half we did a great job of defending and running. The second half we just let it go.
Any additional questions? I know we have at least one on Zoom. We'll go back to the second row on the left.
Charlotte Gibson, ESPN. Zam, you were fighting till the very, very end. And I want to know, how do you dig deep in those moments, especially when you're trailing behind? Because I saw you talking, sprinting, everything you could do.
I just say I didn't want to let my teammates down. I came into the game. I was nervous, of course, with Zoe being out. She's a big part of our team. So I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I just wanted to uplift my teammates and let them know, like, I'm not quitting, so you're not quitting on me. I saw my dad always say, out of sight, out of mind, out of sight. So I'm not really thinking about me being tired. I'm thinking about trying to help my teammates get the win.
Okay, continue to raise your hand if you have questions in the room, but we'll take our next question from Zoom. And Corey, give us just a minute to get you queued up, Corey. And go ahead with your question.
It's Corey Smith with Pack Power 247. For both of you, what do you feel like you learned from this season? Because you do have a young team, as Devin pointed out. You both have a chance to return next season, and every player on this roster has a chance to return next season. But what do you feel like you learned about yourselves and this team as a whole that you can take into next year?
I want to say the biggest thing for me was to just stay focused and stay ready. If you noticed it, there was definitely, like, sometimes I played a lot more than others. Sometimes I didn't play. And, mentally, I just always had to tell myself, stay ready, be ready. Got to keep your focus. And, you never know. You don't plan for stuff like the injury of Zoe that happened in Tennessee game. We weren't expecting that to happen. You don't want that stuff to happen. And, I just had to tell myself, stay focused, stay ready, play hard, play for your team, and defense. Like, Zoe gives us a lot of offense. And, maybe, we can't make up for that on offense because of how great of a scorer she is, but on defense, we can maybe limit their offensive scoring and just try and fill that gap there.
We'll stay with Zoom for our next question from Noah Fleischman. We'll get you queued up, and go ahead with your question, Noah.
Yeah, this one's for Zam. What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself today, playing point guard for 40 minutes here for most of it with Kaishi going out, and what's the biggest thing you're able to learn from this moving forward?
I say I got to learn how to stop turning the ball over. I had too many turnovers, but it comes with the game. That's life. That's the game. I just got to learn how to control myself when pressing, not letting them speed me up. I was gassed, though, but there's no excuse, so I just had to keep fighting through it and just mentally prepare next time.
Anything additional for Devin or Zam before we move on to questions for Coach? Okay, thank you both for your time. We greatly appreciate it. As they begin to make their way off stage, we can begin taking questions for Coach. If you do have a question for Coach Moore, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. We'll begin on the right side in the third row.
Hi, Coach. Sean Windsor with the Detroit Free Press. You've been around the game a long time. I'm just curious, your perspective of what Michigan's level is at right now, and and particularly their sophomores?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously, like I said, they're playing at a really high level right now. I'm impressed with, how connected they are, how bought in they are, and they can hurt you a lot of different ways. I thought the first half we did a pretty good job of executing our plan and trying to slow down Swords and Olsen, but again, they're hard to contain for 40 minutes, and their press was very effective. I probably should have done a better job maybe of adjusting to it, but, again, they're hitting on all cylinders, well coached, and got a chance to, keep going.
The third row on your right, Coach.
Hi, Coach. Lyra Sharma with the Michigan Daily. You guys kept it close for a lot of the game, even after that second quarter where they went up big. You came right back. But what do you think was that moment where they had basically run away with it?
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously, like I said, we held them to 28 points in the first half, and that's that's right where our goal is. We want to try to hold people to 30 points a half. It's getting tougher nowadays, but that's what you'd like to do. And then second half, and again, they had only hit 3 threes, I believe, going into the fourth quarter, and then we let them hit 7 in the fourth quarter, so we kind of got lost on some things and didn't get to people. And obviously, Olsen had an unbelievable second half, and just kind of snowballed on us. And, we, like I said, the turnovers and all that, it happened pretty quick. So, like I said, frustrating day.
Back to your left, Coach, in the front row.
Larry Leach from AP. When did you know that Brooks was going to be out, and how much did you hate this for her and the team?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll be honest, didn't know till this morning. We were holding out hope that she could go, but it is, tough injury, and again, she's very important to us. But I mean, let's face it, Michigan played great today, and so it's definitely not an excuse by any means. We, got to be able to handle that better. But hated it for her. You only have 4 years, and 4 opportunities like this. So I hated for her season to end like that. And obviously hated it for our team because they depend on her a lot. She's a leader for us. So that was tough. But, again, it's a team sport, and you got to figure out a way to overcome.
Staying on your left here in the third row, and then we'll go to the second.
Hi, Coach. Andy Treppick with the Michigan Daily. You talked about Olsen and Swords for Michigan, but just what was it with the Michigan's guard depth in general, specifically in the second half, that created some challenges defensively?
Yeah, until I see the film, it's hard to say. But I just felt like in the second half, we had really stressed against those two in particular, and Holloway for that matter, but especially Swords and Olsen. You got to get over screens. You got to fight over it. They're going to set a lot of fade screens, down picks, things like that. And I don't know why until I see the film, but we seem to get away from that and left them open. And part of it, too, is transition. Let's face it, when you're turning the ball over like we did, you get outscored 35-5. A lot of those are going to be off the turnover into transition, and you don't get matched up or you don't get back. So, but until I look at it, but like I said, I thought we did a good job in first half hanging in there. Kashi, again, it's tough when you got Zoe out, and then I was concerned going into the game with Destiny getting in foul trouble. She's an aggressive defender, and I've seen her pick up fouls. So definitely going into the game, I was concerned about it. Against their press, you needed 2 really good ball handlers because they can trap one and make somebody handle it that doesn't really want to handle it maybe. And with Destiny sitting out a majority of the game, it ended up essentially we had to have a forward back there helping bring the ball up, and that was tough.
Staying on your left in the second row.
Hi, Coach. Charlotte Gibson, ESPN. I know we don't want to dwell on it, but I am curious. Yesterday you said Zoe's taking all the precautions that she needs with the crutches, the boot. Do we have a specific diagnosis, and do we know how long she'll be out?
Yeah, I really don't. I know it's her, and I'm horrible pronouncing it, plantar, whatever. I know that's the injury. She actually hurt her other one in high school, so she's been through it. But I don't even know what the treatment is. If it's something that just treatment and recovery, if it'll require surgery, I don't know. So I'm not that smart. I went to school 8 years, but they don't call me doctor. Okay.
We'll take our next question from Zoom, and Corey Smith. Just let us get a minute to get you queued up, Corey, and go ahead with your question.
Yes, Wes, this is Corey Smith with Pack Power 247. Wanted to ask you specifically, does it make it a little easier to, take this type of a loss when you know that you have as many players as you have coming back next year, and don't have any seniors on this team, to know that you can work from this and move forward with it?
No, no. It's no fun, as a coach. Feel like I've let my university down and let our fans down and let our players down. No, it's been a rough year. A lot of people, you win 21 games and you finish top 4 in the ACC, and, that's a good year. 6 out of the last 7 years, we finished in the top 10 in the country. So this is hard to swallow. But, again, we got to take a real hard look at, and again, I'll take all the blame. I put the team together and I coached the team, and I got to look in the mirror, and we got to look in the mirror as a program, and we got to try to get back to what we do.
We've got time for 1 to 2 more for Coach. If there's any additional questions in the room, we'll go back to the right side in the 4th row towards the back.
Hi, Taylor Daniels, Mason Brew. Michigan found a lot of success on the offensive glass today. How did you see that impact the game?
Yeah, I always say rebounding. I was fortunate to be around Pat Summit early in my coaching career, and she always said offense sells tickets and defense wins games and rebounding wins championships. And I've always been a big believer. You couldn't tell it this weekend. Tennessee had about 20 offensive rebounds, so I knew Michigan would be trying to take advantage of that, and they did a great job on the offensive boards. So that's something we have to try to fix. We're not a very good offensive rebounding team, so we don't get much off of that. And then when you're giving them up on the other end, we got beat all the hustle plays. Points off turnovers, I've already mentioned, points in the paint, second chance points, fast break points, you name it. And so, like I said, we got handed it to us today. So they did a great job, and we gotta fix it.
Anything more for Coach? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you all.
That concludes today's press conferences for NC State. Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be